people are like, oh, I don't want the 9 to 5. This is fucking 9 to 24, whatever, you know, like this is literally
it's
weekends.
24/7.
Exactly.
Right?
It's, you don't want a 9 to 5. Well, entrepreneurship is not for you. Growing up poor, it always kind of just made me envious and like, you know, when I'm in that situation, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make it. I'm going to, you know, provide for my family. I'm going to, you know, provide for my kids. What do you believe in? Do you believe in karma? Do you believe in something? Do you believe in universe? Because it will come back to you and it will bite you. And the money that you get from ill-gotten ways will leave you just as fast as you get it. And you won't even realize how.
Hi, Rohaan, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Paul.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Can you please start by introducing yourself quickly?
Sure. My name is Rohaan Khan, and I'm the CEO and founder of Orange Trail. That is my current business and main focus, which is an agency that provides whitelisted ad accounts for pretty much all the main platforms: Facebook, Google, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Bing. But I'm also more than that. I'm probably 6 years in this industry of digital marketing. I've had multiple e-commerce brands. I've scaled them to 7 figures. I've exited a brand successfully. I sold to a VC in 2021. I've just started many businesses. And aside from that, my background before that, I actually completed a master in psychology. So quite a colorful
You've been busy, right?
Very busy.
Where are you from?
So I was born in Pakistan, and then I grew up in Ireland all my life. So that's what I'm more accustomed to. However, that being said, I do actually speak the native languages and also Russian and German.
That's great. And I never noticed your Irish accent, actually. So, yeah. Can you please tell us more, like, when you were a kid, did you already know what you wanted to do?
Ooh, you're going deep straight away.
Yeah.
Sheesh. All right, let me get into that. So it's funny that you asked this question. As a kid, I was very athletic. I was always, you know, heavily involved in sports. I played football from age 7, and I played to a decent level, I would say. You know, inter-county, representing my county in Ireland, Tipperary, and going abroad. We went to Reading. We played against the Reading Academy in the UK around age 13, 14. So like played to a decent level. I was always more into sports, not so much into education and studying. I actually quite hated it. But in terms of your question, was I destined for more? I don't know. I just never really resonated with the education system. I didn't really want to go down that route, but it was more so just keeping the parents happy.
But you still went pretty far.
Yeah. I think it's about the pressures that society put on you. If you don't complete high school, if you don't go to college, if you don't specialize, you're a failure, branded in the eyes of society. And, you know, and I recently discussed this on a podcast as well, where these expectations from society are so unfair, because let's think about those people who actually cannot afford college, or, you know, don't quite have the means or the capacity to actually complete college. By not having that one piece of paper, a degree, you're branded a failure in the eyes of many.
So then I'm a failure because I only have the high school diploma. But
exactly, yeah. In the eyes of many, maybe,
but not my mom. So it's the main point. Yeah,
exactly, and also not in my eyes. And this is coming from someone who has a master's degree. I don't actually think that makes you a man. I think what makes you an accomplished individual is, first of all, just accomplishments. You know, what have you actually achieved in your life? Have you gone out and done it alone? Have you been receiving handouts? For example, we grew up poor. That was partly the reason for my drive and my hunger and my ambition. And aside from that, I made everything happen for myself. You know, I did all the research. I, you know, got my grades, even though I was not always very good at studying. And I'm pretty sure, because I have the master in psychology, but I never did the self-assessment. I'm pretty sure I'm undiagnosed ADD. Potentially hyperactivity. I'm not sure. Sometimes I do get hyper, but again, that's not really something I want to label myself, but I know what the criteria is in the DSM, the disease statistic manual. I know that I fit those criteria, but if I were to do that test and then start labeling myself being a victim, it would be counterproductive. I've gotten to this level in my life probably because of everything I have, and I'm grateful for it. But my point is, and I'm you know, relating it all back to, what does this piece of paper mean to everybody? For some, it's a flex, you know, like, oh, I have an MBA, get on my level.
Have you heard some people flexing over a diploma?
I mean, doesn't everybody? You know, look at LinkedIn. Have you ever seen the posts and updates on LinkedIn? Have you seen them? I am so happy to announce that I have been, accepted into X, Y, and Z.
It's maybe because within my childhood friends, none of them really graduated. Mm-hmm. So that's maybe why I don't feel this. But yeah, when I think about that specifically in the UK and the US, even more than in France, I guess. It's true. On LinkedIn, we see all of them bringing their diploma like a trophy, but what's the point? You just paid for that.
Look, it's not just money. At the end of the day, it does take hard work. It does take the ability to meet deadlines, work independently, be a self-starter. Fair, but just going back to it, that all of that didn't get me to where I am now. I learned how to create a website, run ads. Mm-hmm. Negotiate, find suppliers, all from YouTube and just my ability to read and go out and independently look for information.
Do you think that it slowed you down to this diploma because you had to focus on studies as well, or?
I mean, if you were doing both simultaneously, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I only started my first online business, which was a dropshipping store, at the end of my master. So whilst I was completing my thesis, I was also working 3 part-time jobs. I was doing, product hunt, setting up websites, failing on these stores. So in that time, yes, if I had the opportunity to go back, probably wouldn't have went to college.
Great.
Knowing what I know now.
But it's easy to say now, right?
Well, as they say, hindsight is 20/20, so it's perfect.
And what were your parents doing as a job?
So my father is actually a psychiatrist and my mom just a housewife.
Get it. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. My mom is administrative assistant. So she's not in the management role, but she always pushed me to focus on business because she felt like it was my destiny to have my own business. So that's what I'm trying to do now. Yep.
What do you think caused her to push you towards there? Did she see some signs?
I think that a lot of men in my family had their own business at some point.
Oh,
so I guess that's part of the reason. And I think that's the only reason. She will be the next invitee of the podcast, so maybe I can have her to elaborate on that. But yes,
I'll be curious to know.
Yeah, but it will be in French, so I'll have to translate to you, right?
That's okay. I'll hire a translator.
Yeah, that's okay. Great. And so you started your side businesses. Your digital businesses at 23, or did you started to succeed at 23?
So I started when I was completing my master, which was around 22, but nobody takes off. It's very rare that you take off on your first idea, boom, first product, 7 figures. No, that doesn't happen. It's always a learning process. And what you'll see a lot is people that go into dropshipping, Shopify, e-commerce, selling, they'll have their first major obstacle, have a payment hole, or have a supplier screw them over, or just the product is just break even and they're like, this doesn't work. The ones that separate it separates the A players from the B is overcoming those obstacles and resilience. So when those fires occur, you put them out and you say, okay, let's go, let's continue. And the reason I say that is because I've seen time and time again from others in the industry, but me myself, I failed 3 different stores. And I'll talk about them as well, the ideas and what I learned from them. I failed 3 before one actually took off. And even that one, it was okay. It wasn't crazy, but it helped me to realize, oh shit, the potential here, the possibilities are crazy.
It's funny that you say this because even in 2019, I was starting my first Shopify stores. And I was doing it during the breaks at my full-time job. And some people were already telling me in 2019 that e-com was done. It was too late. I was like,
they still say that today.
Keep working for...
We're still here, baby.
Keep working for 1.5K a month if you want, but I will try something else, right?
And look, this is not the life for everybody, And there's a lot of people that are trying, which is probably not for them. But at least they're trying. And like I said, what separates the A players from the B are the ones that are just obsessed. And they're like, no, I need to make it. I really need to make it. And for me, I think where that drive came from was, of course, the upbringing. You know, like we never really lived lavishly, and I was always envious, not jealous, because I hate when people are jealous. I'm happy for my friends when they do well, but I was always envious. You know, like you see your friends' parents pulling up to, you know, the football game, and they're showing like they have a nice car, and they're actually being there. You know, growing up poor, it always kind of just made me envious and like, you know, when I'm in that situation, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make it. I'm going to, you know, provide for my family. I'm going to, you know, provide for my kids. So that drive, that, you know, ambition really pushed me. And at the end of the day, look, like I said, it's not for everybody. There will be people who will try, but these, you know, hurdles and fires, especially in e-commerce, especially in dropshipping, there's so many fires. You have to be mentally resilient. If you are not, give up now, because they will continue.
You know what? Even if it's working well, as I explained you a few days ago, you have some issues. And 2 years ago, I was not ready to handle them. That's why I stopped. If it was working like a lot better than I thought, and I was not ready for that because I had some like payment processor holds and this kind of stuff. And I prefer to stop. And I was making like 3-4K a day. So it doesn't make any sense when you look back at the situation. Even Ari told me like,
yeah,
what's the point of stopping? But I was not ready at that time. And now I feel like I'm ready again. So
you were a B player then, no offense, but you're, I think, mentally prepared now. And I have no doubt you're going to be an A player now. And look, you know, these fires, if everyone gave up, no one would be successful.
Sure.
It's the ones that actually pursue through it, and they're like, okay.
My mom always told me if it was easy, everybody would do it in any kind of situation. So I feel like she's right on that point.
And actually, I'll add to your mom's wisdom, and I'll say one step further with the ideas that have a higher barrier to entry. You have more possibilities of a blue ocean. What I mean by that is, everyone can start a dropshipping store. Everyone can go to Alibaba, AliExpress. However, if you have exclusivity with the type of products you sell, where number one, they're not as easily available. Number two, there's a problem with shipping and they need special lines. Or number three, the type of marketing you need for that really requires you to, you know, bring the product in-house, record content for it, and publish it. If the barrier to entry is higher, means less people are actually doing it. And the ones that do succeed there, assuming there is demand for said product, they'll crush it. And that's what I've seen time and time again. And look, you know, in the last 6 years, dropshipping, brand, across all my e-commerce adventures, I have around, I think, 10 million plus in sales. And the lessons I've learned is, number one, always try to find a product that solves a problem for somebody and is complementary to their life. They tend to do well over long periods of time and stay evergreen. That's not to say that you can't make a bucket load of cash from, you know, impulsive buy products. Absolutely you can. Fidget spinner, you know. But at the end of the day, you want something that's going to be stable, evergreen, long term. Problem solving products do extremely well at top of funnel. So that's the first piece of advice I would give. Second piece of advice that I would give is exclusivity. Now, these are principles I learned from when I was selling my brand. And for, you know, anyone that's not aware, my brand was in the sleep niche.
Is that the brand that you sold, or is it another one?
That is the brand I sold. I can't disclose the name due to confidentiality, you know, agreements. But what I can say is about the product, and I can't go too much into the marketing. But what I can say is that it solved a huge pain point in the you know, market of sleep. Because how many people actually sleep in the world?
Like, let me think about that. 7 billion.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
that.
So that's my market, first of all. And then when you dive deeper into that, how many of them actually have problems with posture, neck, waking up, you know, lethargic, and
6 billion out of 7.
Quite a large majority, I can imagine. So, you know, in this case, I had a mass scale audience. I had a problem solving product. And lastly, the logistics. So at the time I was dropshipping from China. I had a very honest and trustworthy sourcing agent, fulfillment agent. In addition to that, they were also doing QA, quality analysis and control on the products, which is where a lot of, you know, dropshippers unfortunately fall, where, you know, from their side, they're trying to provide value, trying to ship the product. But what happens is that the suppliers screw them over. Now it can happen, you know? So what you need for that is some kind of third party that's either legitimate or someone else that goes in there and does the quality analysis. And also working with reputable sourcing and fulfillment agents. And then the last thing was with the actual marketing and angles. And I can't go too much into it, but what I can say is that, you know, you have the pain. How do you push the pain point? Because look, as marketers, we are always pushing the boundaries of marketing, whether that be the copy, the creatives, whatever. You're supposed to push the boundaries to the point where it's like, okay, this is accepted, but anymore and it will be rejected. That's like the differentiating factor. You know, you could sell cat food to dogs if you have the right marketing, but what you really need to do is just have perfect alignment between those three. I had the product market fit. Okay. I had the marketing, you know, with the angles, pushing the pain point. I knew exactly what to say, where to do it. And then lastly, I had the logistics and everything, where a lot of my competitors would have broken even because they're getting higher prices and the shipping times are just crazy, or like costs are high. Meanwhile, I bought in bulk. I would, you know, get the cost low. I would have special lines with my agents. And then eventually, actually, I used a 3PL in the Netherlands. So because of that, I was able to dominate my competition.
And how many like websites did you launch before these brands?
Oh, good question.
Like dozens or?
So this was in 2020, and actually perfect timing is another thing. I had Corona. Everyone is at home.
I remember the Shopify dashboards during Corona. It was
exactly.
Nice.
By the way, I didn't have Corona, but I had Corona as the time frame.
I know what you
just clarifying that for the record. So when COVID struck, everyone is at home. Everyone was trigger happy on their phone to buy. And e-commerce sales boomed, even though everyone else thought, oh no, they're not going to do well. So I think timing really was on my side at that time as well. And in addition to that, remember what I said about the logistics. Meanwhile, my competition couldn't fulfill. China was in lockdown and, you know, my agents were superstars. There were still some people coming into the warehouses, you know, and they were handling stuff. So. And
how long before COVID did you launch the brands? Like a few months before, a few weeks before?
Actually, it was a few months before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And going back to your earlier question, so how many stores until this one? I think it was probably around 9 or 10.
Do you have any kind of estimate of success rates of those stores? I mean, success is not doesn't have a precise definition, but yeah.
For me, usually it was around every three ideas. Like when I'm saying ideas, it's not like if I have a general store, it's different products. That's one idea. Okay. But if I have a niche store in one little, you know, specific area, I think it was every 3 ideas something just slapped.
In Switzerland in 2020, when we launched 60 stores in the same year, it was like 1 out of 4, so almost the same success rate. But what they considered success was like more than 20K a month in profits. So they were cutting the smaller ones because it didn't make any sense at that time to keep those running.
I see. Yeah. And then that, again, at the start of the podcast, I said the guys, Patrick, Bet, David, and Valuetainment, they shared some statistic on their Twitter, which I retweeted, and it was it takes an average of 3.8 according to research and statistics. I'm sure they did a longitudinal study with interviewing people or something like that to get to that statistic, but it takes 3.8 before you succeed. So for anyone listening out there, you're on your first idea, it's not working, don't worry, trust the process. Second, third. Now, a lot of people do get lucky. On their first, they're like, whoa, 1K a day instantly. I'm like, okay, you're blessed.
That wasn't my first one that I did what I told you.
Really? Yeah. You know what happens there, Paul?
I need to fail 2 more before I go back to success, I guess.
I mean, that's one thing. But another thing that happens, and you see it time and time again, people are reckless with the cash because they get cash so quick, so fast, and so unexpectedly that they don't know how to deal with it.
That's what happened to me. So
you see,
and it was only 100K in sales, so it's not that big, right? Yeah. It's relatively small even. So
yeah. And the ego, you know, like we all have egos, and it gets to your head. You're thinking, "Moi la papa," you know. I'm the
but when
boss.
You live in Paris suburbs in my mom's sofa when you get this kind of money. All of a sudden, you feel like a PSG player, right? So
yeah, move over Mbappe. So
exactly.
Look, financial literacy is a really, really important pillar of entrepreneurship. I think there's 4 very important pillars of entrepreneurship: sales, marketing, legal, and finance.
Mm-hmm.
Finance is my worst one, so I just hire the right people to take care of that for me.
But I'm saying that the money I got at that time got me a bit crazy, but at that time I still invested into apartments due to my employment contract in Switzerland. I was able to get 2 loans, as I told you. So I was still not that dumb in terms of financial literacy, but still it was too much money too quickly, too easily maybe, because it was like 1 hour a day. So as you know, it can be a bit difficult to handle, I would say, but yeah.
Yeah, and look, I've been there too. I didn't really spend my money from the dropshipping on materialistic goods. Instead, I travel the world. I've been to 35 countries now, and I learned quite a lot, And when you go to a new country, a new city, and you explore the culture, you start to get knowledge and ideas. And of course, the network is also like, that's a given. So for example, when I was in South Korea, Japan, I realized how big skincare is over there. They love beauty products. So every time I would travel, I would always be like alert, because I was in the dropshipping mode. Not so much now, but at that time I would always be alert and thinking and, watching and observing, what could I sell? What could I sell? To which markets? So, for everyone, listening out there, if you are young and you have the means, get out of your hometown, get out of your country, explore the world. You will actually realize that your mind and your horizon just broadens, and you start to get more ideas and you start to experience what is possible.
You don't live in Ireland anymore, right?
No, I spent the last 4 years in Bali and now I live in Bulgaria. But I've been coming and going from Dubai since 2018. I've had a company here since then. So
great. Mm-hmm. Great. Maybe we can now talk about your current company, or the main company that you have now.
Of course. So right now we have an agency called Orange Trail, and after my exit, when I sold my sleep brand to a VC.
When was that? In 2021?
I think it was 2021, start of or middle of 2021. I had a lot of time because I had nothing else at that time. I had a bunch of cash, and I just realized, like, what do I do? So I didn't do anything for like 6 to 7 months. I did nothing. And looking back now, it's probably one of the worst periods of my life.
Nothing means partying.
I mean, I'm not that big of a party guy. I mean, I used to be, but not anymore. I think it's part of the maturity. But at the time, and this sounds crazy, like you have all the time in the world, all the money in the world. Well, not all, but quite a good amount of money. And you're feeling unhappy. You're feeling unfulfilled. And I realized at that moment, like, oh shit, this is not good. So for anyone who's ever gonna sell or sell their brand or stop what they're doing, always have something instantly to jump back into, because you will feel so unfulfilled and almost like borderline depression, where you're just like, what do I do with my time? So when those 6-7 months finished, I just realized, okay, I need to do something. So I started to brainstorm, idea generate, and again, problem solving. So I realized one of the biggest problems in the advertising industry, and I'm sure everyone listening has been banned at some stage in their life, their ad account disabled, you get that red notification, you've been restricted from advertising. So what do you actually do in that case? Well, generally you would contact support. You might get a response, you might not. If you do, it's usually a few weeks later. And usually just an automated response.
Asking you to provide more details. Or
exactly.
Yeah.
You provide all the details, you write a beautiful essay, and they're like, yeah, it's a final decision, you're permanently restricted.
Do you think there is at that stage somebody behind reading the messages, or is it just an AI or some stuff like that?
Honestly, I feel like it's automated, but look, I don't know. I would be guessing. So anyways, this whole problem of advertising bans, restrictions, think of how big of a pain point that is in the industry. And I realized this is something that needs to be addressed. And how do you address it? So when I was using advertising accounts for my brand, we were getting banned quite often, right? So I realized that agency accounts are like this premium level, enterprise level account that you can use to advertise with stability You have no limits on the spending. So, you know, usually an ad account when you start fresh, it's like 25 a day, 50 a day, 100. Agency accounts, you can scale to 10,000 per day if you want from the first day. You receive a priority level support, which means that there's a dedicated team within, you know, Meta or their authorized sales partners, which will provide you support on why you got banned, compliance checks, and unban you as well, usually within 24 to 72 hours. So when I realized these accounts are there, I was like, oh, okay, I need to think about how I can provide these to the wider industry.
Do you know when these kinds of accounts were created? Is it like a few years ago, or was it from start of Facebook ads?
No, they weren't from the start. So this agency accounts was only recently introduced in the last few years. And look, we identified a huge pain point and we decided to set up Orange Trail in a bid to provide these agency accounts to advertisers who need our help. But we're also very selective. We don't just accept everyone. You need to be, you know, white hat advertiser. What I mean by that is you cannot be some scammer, you know, not shipping or, you know, frauding people out of money. No, of course, you're not going to be accepted. There's eligibility criteria. You know, we have a lot of e-com clients. We have lead gen clients, people selling courses. So this is why we set up this agency. And now it's not just Meta, it's also Google. And in fact, we give cash back on ad spend for Google.
It's also TikTok
as well. Bing. Taboola, we just made a deal with them as well. Snapchat. And my personal recent favorite is Twitter. Since Elon took over, we actually now provide agency accounts for Twitter as well, which is a special process. We have to allow list your Twitter handle to be able to run with an agency account. Once that's done, you're able to run ads with stability.
I have a question. What are, like, for example, Nike, Netflix, whatever, these kind of very, very large companies, are they using these kind of accounts or are they using the normal ones? But since there are these kind of brands, they don't have any issue. I always ask myself this question. So yeah.
Great question. So do you think Nike would put the fate of their entire advertising online presence in a personal account for some guy in their marketing department?
I think so, but I don't know how they were doing before the agency ad accounts were even existing. So yeah.
Yeah. So with large scale brands, you know, because they have huge budgets, I'm certain that, you know, Meta has preferential, you know, support and accounts for them. However, you know, I don't know if they're using agency accounts per se, but they would definitely be using a higher tier ad accounts. They're not going to be using standard accounts.
Do you think they are getting cash back on their ad spend?
You're asking all the right questions. I don't know. That's a simple answer. I imagine they're not. No.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder how much they're spending also, like Nike. Oof. Is it within hundreds of millions or billions? A year, I would say.
A year? Oh, I wouldn't say they're spending billions, but
yeah, hundreds of millions.
I'm not even sure about that. It's probably around like 10 to maybe 50. I'm not sure. I really don't know.
10 to well, it would be interesting to try to find out this.
It would be interesting, but I'm not sure this would be.
I don't know if somebody has the info. I think it's not
proprietary information.
Yeah.
But here's what happens with a lot of big brands and especially big companies. They have an end of quarter dump where they have remaining budgets, and they're just telling the marketing team, yeah, just dump it away. We have to spend it because like the higher ups are like, no, we have to spend it.
I know,
we can't keep it.
In the French military, it's working exactly the same. So at the end of the year, they just like throw away some money just to keep the same budget for the year
right
after, so.
And you know what they do? They run branding campaigns.
Probably not. I would recommend them some.
I'm not kidding.
They OT run branding accounts, right?
They run branding campaigns, and look, you know, at that level, I don't know how it is to run a unicorn, like $1 billion company. I don't know, but at that level, yeah, you may just need to run some branding campaigns. And
do you think that you will be running a unicorn at some point in your life?
This is gonna sound very arrogant, but I'm very confident in myself, and I do think so.
If I'm asking the question, it's because I think that it's a yes. So that's why I'm
asking. Oh, really? You
yeah.
think so?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Why would you think so, Paul?
Because I think that you know how to manage people. I've seen you like talking in front of like maybe 20 of your employees, and I know how direct you can be without being disrespectful, which is a very unique or rare skill, I guess?
Well, I really appreciate those kind words, Paul. That does mean a lot. And look, unicorns are rare. You know, it's $1 billion.
Even
you know
if
how
it's
many zeros that is?
I know how to count, right?
Yeah, so that's a lot of zeros. And look, you know, it's not possible with small time ideas. You really need to have a scalable offer and a mass market appeal. Like the product market fit needs to be mass. Like
My opinion is that the kind of services OT is providing cannot scale to 1 billion, but with the network that you're growing of big spenders, you could grow a service or a SaaS around that, and use this network to have a huge leverage pretty quickly, and maybe sell for a billion or something close to that.
That's very, good that you pointed that out. And in fact, we are working on a few side things that are complementary to Orange Trail. And one of those would be payment solutions. So like a payment gateway, and you know how scalable that is. Look at Stripe, how fast they became $1 billion company.
I know. Actually, I'm building a website for a client who is building a payment processor for Africa. Because in Africa, they are underbanked. I don't know if it's a word in English, but most of them actually don't have a bank account. They are using like mobile payments or this kind of stuff. So, and Stripe in Africa is really not the solution.
Stripe is really selective with which countries they're in.
Yeah, and as you are also very familiar with payment processors, and if you're getting into some payment processors like the local checkout.com, their onboarding process for new clients is really not smooth. It's really a headache. So I think there is some stuff to do around that.
Yeah, and look, if you ever want to be innovative, okay, you take an idea that's already working. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you improve on everything that you don't like. And I, as a user of Stripe, especially through Orange Trail, we have top-ups through Stripe, we have bank transfers, we see things that could be improved.
I know some of the stories that happened to you. I think we will not mention it.
Yes. But the point is that if you understand the pain points because you yourself were your user and you improve on those, that's a lesson for all business, adventures that you're going to embark on. Just think about if someone is not doing something well, that's an opportunity. You can jump in there and you can improve that and do it better. Put your own twist on it. Don't plagiarize, don't copy. But of course, you can improve on that.
That's part of the reason why I left the Swiss company doing dropshipping, because I thought that I could do better than them. Actually, I did not yet. But still, I saw some issues in the company and the way, in their processes.
Yeah.
And same in the construction company I worked for between 18 and 20. I always tell to my closest people that I could start a construction company and do better, do more than 30 million a year, because I know how they are working. I know what could be improved. Because I was 18, why would they listen to me and teach them how to improve their process? But I really think that in processes in management, as I kind of explained before, some things could be done better.
That's the mindset you really need to succeed. First of all, you identify pain points and areas that could be improved, and then actually having the balls to be like, I can do it better. With that tenacity, you can get very far.
So maybe I will grow a construction company in a few years.
Maybe you can join me in a unicorn status.
But do you think that some construction companies are doing more than 1 billion? I think that yes.
Are you kidding? Of course. Have you seen Dubai?
Yeah, I know.
Have you seen Darmas and MR? Like, come on, bro. That's multi-billion.
I even live in Shoba, in a Shoba construction. I guess they're doing more than 1 billion a year.
I see. Look, I'm confident that there's a lot of companies out there, especially real estate related, that are killing
Actually, when we call a company a unicorn, is it because their valuation is at 1 billion or more, or is it in a yearly sales volume?
Correct. So I believe it's the latter. The former. It's based on evaluation of the company. So for anyone listening out there, what we refer to as unicorns is a company that has an evaluation of $1 billion.
Like OT.
Okay. Soon to be. Stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned. That's great. And how do you see the agency in a few years, in a few months, in a few years? Do you see yourself staying in the business? Do you see yourself selling it in a few years? Can you please tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think I will sell it because this is such a unique and niche service that we provide. Now, we're just for anyone listening out there, Orange Trail is actually one of a handful of agencies worldwide that can provide this service that we provide. The only way we were able to get access to be able to provide agency accounts was through high-level partnerships and agreements and networks, and me spending millions in ad spend on agency accounts as well myself, to be able to have the conversations and the opportunities.
So it's confirming what you said before, since the was that entry barrier of the business is very high.
Yeah,
it's like easier to succeed, or at least
not easier to succeed.
Is not what I wanted to say, but at least it's like eliminating a lot of the competition.
100%. Not everyone can get access to agency accounts. If they do, not everyone is eligible, you know, and this is why, like, we have very few competitors, but we succeed on, even if we do have competitors, we succeed on service, which, you know, at the end of the day, build it and they will come. But how you keep them staying with you and loyal customers and clients is by giving them literally above and beyond top quality service, you know. And I'm talking, we have 24/5 support in Orange Trail, because we have account managers around the world, in the US time zone, European time zone, Asian time zone, and they're literally responding within 30 minutes to an hour every time anyway. And then aside from that, like, we have probably the lowest rates in the industry for providing these accounts, and the best level of accounts as well. The accounts just don't go down, you know. We have dedicated teams just for us, which are able to open an account for you within an hour, top up within a few hours, and, you know.
So you see yourself staying in the company, or at least continuing the company and focusing on that for the next few years, or are you still in the process of launching new businesses? Like,
yeah, so that's a good question. What we are now thinking, and, you know, look, I have a co-founder as well, Ari. You know, I came up with the idea, but I brought him on in a few months later, because I realized, like, Ari has a lot of potential, and he's a really hard worker, and he has great ideas, and he has experience with the agency business. So Ari's co-founder now, and we have both equal stake in the company, and neither of us actually want to sell. We just want to grow this to the highest level possible. But what we also want to do is we want to have complementary businesses aside from that, that support Orange Trail or go hand in hand with Orange Trail. I mentioned the payment gateway earlier. There's also some other ideas which I won't disclose, but, you know, these are complementary side businesses which go hand in hand with our hundreds of clients, you know. So that's what I would say at this moment.
Get it. And what do you think is the highest that Orange Trail can go? Maybe not in sales volume, I think you cannot talk about that, but in terms of, I mean, market share, employees amount, like.
Yeah. So let me just go over some numbers. Within the last 15 months, we have accumulated 450 clients and growing. We have around 25 full-time staff now. And we have 2 offices that are in process. Now, it's just in 1 year, just above a year. You know, now imagine what's possible in 5. So what we're doing now is just treating this really like a serious company, where we're hiring like head of growths. We're hiring, you know, the key positions. We have employees that were working at EY and McKinsey, top tier firms that said no to me when I was applying to them. And now I'm stealing their talent. So, you know, this is what you really need to do at the higher levels. At the start, I was the finance, I was the sales, I was, you know, marketing, I was doing everything myself. But as we grew and we had more capital to invest, and we're reinvesting everything, we're not being stupid. And, you know, although we are driving Lambos in Dubai now and again, but
I have a question. When I started helping with the paid ads, how many were in the company? How many people were in the company? Only Ari and you, or?
When you started with us, I think we only had like 6
already.
Yeah,
it was like in April of last year.
Oh, okay. During that time, I only think, we had 5 or 6. Cool. So we've grown quite a lot since then.
Yeah, that's interesting. And okay, so you will be focusing on OT and side businesses around OT for the next few years.
Absolutely.
But if we look even further, like, what do you have in mind, like in life?
In life, yeah, that's a very good question. I just want to be fulfilled always, Paul. That's a simple answer. I know what it feels like to have money but be unhappy. And yeah, people might joke like, yeah, you know, money doesn't buy you happiness, but you can buy a Ferrari and that'll give you happiness. Yeah, you look, that also, you get desensitized to it, you know, Okay, you have a Ferrari, you've driven a fast car. The next day you're like, okay, what's next? What's next? You need the contrast of ups and downs to be able to appreciate the ups, right?
I totally agree with you. And as I told you a few days ago about my story, I know some very close people who had millions and who were very, very unhappy because of the way they got this money. So I guess that the process of how you are getting this money is also very, very important.
Please provide a good service out there. Don't fuck people over, because it will come back to you. Okay. I know a lot of no shippers. I know a lot of scammers. And I'm at that point in my life, maybe call it maturity or whatever, but I have no time for people like that. We were at the Affiliate World Conference recently, and look, it's a very well run conference. You know, I think it's a great opportunity to network with people. But, you know, we as Orange Trail, we're at these conferences looking to create partnerships, get clients, help them with their advertising. And then when people say to you, yeah, do you accept Elon Musk crypto offer running his face and scamming people? And I'm like, mate, get the fuck away from me.
Are they asking this kind of question as directly as you are?
Absolutely. They're not even ashamed about it. And to me, that was like, I looked at Ari like, what the fuck? You
imagine the people who are not even asking directly absolutely what they're doing.
Yeah. And look, some people like, you know, with pride say like, yeah, I know ship. You know, it's like, you're literally going out and scamming people. How can you sleep well about that? You know, during the start of my dropshipping career, if the quality of the product I sent was not good and customers write an angry email, I would feel bad. I'd be like, oh shit, like I feel terrible, you know, and I'd like refund or, you know, I'd feel bad. I don't know how people can just go out there and blatantly just, you know, take the money and not even send anything or even just do like a direct fraud.
Do you think that they will regret that at some point in their life, or can these people like live a normal life of like 80 years and feel okay? I mean, it's a tough question, I know.
It is a tough question, but look, you said it yourself just now. You will regret it. And I'll tell you why. And look, I'm a very religious person. I pray every day and I'm fearful of God. Okay. For me, I'm fearful of retribution from God. Now, there's probably a lot of people listening out there that are not religious, which is totally fine. But what do you believe in? Do you believe in karma? Do you believe in something? Do you believe in universe? Because it will come back to you and it will bite you. And the money that you get from ill-gotten, you know, ways will leave you just as fast as you get it. And you won't even realize how. And what we're now also seeing is some people flying through airports and, you know, getting locked up, you know, a couple of the NFT scammers. We've seen drop shipping guys also. I saw a few stories where, you know, they scam people and arrived in you know, an airport in Germany, and the authorities knew like there's a civil court and did the case and they took them. So look, it will come back to bite you. The best thing you can do, and also for your own soul, keep your soul clean, is try to provide value. Try to offer value, because it's really easy to make money black hat. You know, you could scam, you can make a lot of money doing it. Everyone could do it. It's really easy, especially in our industry. What I would say is just don't do it, because look, you're compromising, you're selling your soul.
Rohaan, you're telling this to me as I was this kind of person, but no, I'm not, as you know.
Yes. Yeah. Look, and if you're selling your soul over something like this, you will never be happy. That's what I think.
That's a great answer to my tough question, right?
Yeah.
And so you say that you were living in Bulgaria at the moment?
I am. I'm living in Bulgaria at the moment. We have an incredible 1,000 square foot mansion that we live in for a very affordable price, by the way.
I've never been invited.
Well, Paul, you're always welcome. We're throwing our parties quite often as well. And Bulgaria is great, honestly. You see what's happening with Tate right now. And look, whatever about Romania, yes, there are some, you know, flaws in their judicial systems. Okay, fair enough. Potentially also the other Balkan countries. But if you're just like, you know, keeping your head down, you're, you know, enjoying your life, not harming anyone, not, you know, being brash, it's a great place to be, Eastern Europe.
It's still in the European Union, right? So it's not a third.
Absolutely, yes.
Country, so.
It's you know, it's not a third world country by any means. Paul, there's some big companies there actually.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But Bulgaria is great. You know, the quality of life for what you pay, it's great. There's a lot of entrepreneurs there. Actually, there's a lot of hubs, companies.
And do you see yourself staying there in the long term, or?
Well, I have a reason to be there now. But I think other than the fact that, you know, we also have our agency registered there, for me, it's the perfect mix of everything I look for. I look for safety where I live. I look for low cost, nothing crazy and outrageous. Like Dubai is really expensive, you know, even if you have money to spend, it's really expensive and unnecessary. I look for a mix of multiple factors like nature, you know, amenities. Like in Bulgaria, you can drive 1 hour north and you're at a ski slope with like resorts and everything lovely.
And 1 hour south is the sea, right?
Exactly. Well, a few hours you can go to Greece. The other day I drove to Istanbul, 5 hours east. And you know, like it has the perfect mix of everything. The value for money you get, it's great. People speak English. It's safe, super safe, by the way. I spent last summer there, and there was one night we were walking home from a nightclub, and it's around 3 a.m., half 3, and we just see a girl walking through the park alone, just on her phone texting, and she wasn't even like out or anything. She was just like in her normal clothes. And I asked my Bulgarian friend, Emo, I asked him, I said, hey, like, what, is this normal? He's like, oh yeah, of course.
In our home countries, it's not possible anymore, right?
Yeah. Even in Ireland, even in the UK, look,
that's what I'm saying. Even in France,
yeah.
My mom and sister still live in Paris suburbs.
Yeah,
I'm asking them like twice a month if they feel safe enough, and they always tell me yes, but I'm not feeling so well to know that they still live there.
It's a shame, right? Because these are supposed to be the countries that are setting the standard for us, setting, you know, this is the dream.
Yeah, France is like top 8, the 7th or 8th most powerful country in the world.
Wow. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but it's really safe there, and I love living in Bulgaria, to be honest.
And I want to ask like an even more personal question, but what does your days look like a normal weekday? Like what do you do? What do you have to focus on? Do you do sports? Like how do you spend your time?
See money.
Rohaan, it's on YouTube. I will have to beep this because
cut that out. All right. How do I spend my time? The start of the week is always busiest. We have packed calendars with calls, and I'm not talking about the biz dev calls for our agency, but literally meetings, high level meetings. I have to meet with the finance team. I have to meet with the compliance team. I have to meet with the operations. We have a board meeting weekly for our entire agency. And then aside from that, we also have some other high level activities on Mondays. So I'm not one of those people that wakes up like 5 a.m. ready to go. No, like I generally go to sleep quite late. But that's just because my brain is just hyperactive. I can be doing 5 things at once and I function fine doing that. In my office, I have like a huge wide screen, and then I have like multiple side things. And literally I'll be doing like 5 things at once. And my girlfriend was looking at me doing this, and she's like, how do you do that? And this is, again, it ties in with my self-diagnosis that I'm literally ADHD, and I can do that, you know? But look, you know, my days are probably, I wake up around 8, 9 generally. I you know, divide up my days. The first three hours or so are deep focus. Generally, if it's a good day, I'm doing deep focus only, no distractions. And then from there, go out, take my dog for a walk, you know, go get lunch. And then it's light work for the rest of the day. And then we have the calls. And then in the evening, I generally just spend a little bit of maintenance time where it's like, I'll do gym, but then after I'll just be like, you know, checking my laptop whilst I'm doing something else. Like maybe if something else is happening in the background, I'm with the guys, I'm just on my laptop.
How many hours a day would you usually work?
Because I stay up so late working, and because my work is so sporadic, I'd say at least 8 to 10 per day, at least. But it's everywhere. Like I'd be driving and I'd be like, you know, on a call or voice messaging employees. I'd be in a cafe with someone, mind you, and I'm probably rude, but I'd be like, 1 second, and then Slack, boom, boom. You know,
during the podcast, you didn't open your phone, so I know you are
I'm
not
actually
really
texting
working.
under the table call. You don't see, but I'm just telling the employees what to do.
Maybe you're, but
yeah. But that's at this level, you cannot switch off. I'm not saying I'm at a crazy high level, but literally, people respond. I'm responsible for people. They depend on me, and you are paying their salaries. You're paying their wages. You're telling them what to do. At this level, you have to always be switched on. And again, this ties in with what I said earlier. This is not the life for everybody. people are like, oh, I don't want the 9 to 5. This is 9 to 24, whatever, you know, like this is literally
it's
weekends.
24/7.
Exactly.
Right?
It's you don't want a 9 to 5. Well, entrepreneurship is not for you, because this is literally 7 days a week, and you have to go above and beyond. It doesn't matter how you feel, as it says, you know, it doesn't matter how I feel. I have to get up and do the shit I have to do every day. Sorry for cursing so much.
I will beep again. Yeah. You're giving more work to be editor, right?
Okay, I'll tone it down a little bit.
I will send
Keep it halal.
I will send you the bill, right? I think that it's time to stop, unfortunately. We have already been discussing for about an hour, so yeah.
Wow.
I guess it was interesting. And you didn't make fun of my accent.
Okay. I don't know what to say.
No, this is really not the French accent. You were doing better usually.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks a lot for your time.
My
Rohaan.
pleasure, Paul.
I hope it was interesting for people too.
Of course, as always. It's always a pleasure. And I'm actually interested to see your episode with your mom coming up.
Yeah. I will activate YouTube translation.
Please do. My French is a bit rusty.
I know. I know. Thank you again, Rohaan.
Thank you, Paul. Cheers.